All right. I'm not going to be on very long, but just want to do a little internet surfing about the Carmelo Anthony. Found this video from, let's see, this is from a liberal hive mind. I've seen some of their videos before. They posted this a day ago. Um, let's see what they have to say about we won't believe what just dropped in court. 10-minute video. I'll put the link in the description box. And here we go. And as usual, I'll be stopping and starting to comment um, as necessary.
Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. And here's the meme of the day, brought to you by 5mind.com. Okay, well, it appears the Carmelo Anthony trial is moving at breakneck speed here. And well, unsurprisingly, it doesn't appear to be looking...
I will say it is moving pretty quick. I've kind of been busy, like I said, with my own stuff and watching the NBA Finals game tomorrow. By the way, the next thing I know, I logged on to YouTube and it was already like day 1 and 2 had already happened. I'm like, goodness gracious, I didn't even get a warning. But here we are.
So great for this little alleged teen murderer. No, I'd say calling Carmelo Anthony's defense an uphill battle doesn't even necessarily do it justice. Folks, I'm not even going to mince words. I'm just going to say it. We've got some witness testimony presented in the case that pretty much makes this a done deal. This kid is going to prison for a very, very long time, most likely and hopefully life to be.
Well, wow, that's mean. Just because a witness says something in a testimony or a trial doesn't make it factual, by the way. Learned a lot about that when I watched the Ahmaud Arbery trial and listening to Tom Mesereau, who's famously Michael Jackson's defense attorney for the 2003/2005 case and trial. Just because a witness says something does not mean that that was factual, that's true, and then that's what the jury is going to be judging off of. So just keep that in mind when you hear some of these inflammatory statements when we do watch or when I do reaction videos to this. Just because a witness says it doesn't make it true. Also the Karen Reed trial. There was a lot of false testimony there that was ripped apart by cross-examination. That witnesses said one thing and then cross proved that they weren't really, it wasn't really what they said that it was. So just because someone says, oh, a witness stepped forward and said this, like that doesn't mean that that's what the truth is, right?
Honest, I'm advocating for capital punishment here. You know, we still got all kinds of clowns online attempting to downplay Carmelo Anthony's actions to claim that he was acting in self-defense, but there's absolutely no merit to that claim. Let me go ahead and show you exactly.
Until they release the surveillance footage to the public, there's no way of knowing that. They've kept this very, very, very quiet. Like I've heard on another video that I was watching, obviously offline, that there was a gag order put on the case, which is probably why I didn't see the whole trial was even going on until later, 2 days into it. But yeah.
What's going on here. We got a lot of really interesting moving pieces. Let me take you through it all. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so let's start off with this news report showing
of the tent. During the time of the arguing, the male was reaching around
guilty and he deserves to go to prison for life. They were all attempting to invalidate his claim of self.
Not really sure why he just used Chud the Builder as an example, because Chud the Builder is a very different case. We've already been I'm going to get to it later, but there's already been alleged claims that Carmelo Anthony got jumped, but we'll see. Anyway.
He basically describes that exact scenario. There is no claim to self-defense here. Carmelo Anthony told Austin Metcalf to punch him, touch me, and see what happens, as he was concealing a knife. Now, from what we understand, Austin Metcalf did actually grab the bait. He pushed Carmelo Anthony once, and Carmelo Anthony responded by stabbing him in the heart and running away. There is no claim to self-defense here, and it's fascinating to see people engaging in all kinds of mental gymnastics attempting to defend this kid. And the craziest part is that it's not just your typical actors. No, even people like Anthony Brian Logan, an OG right
of Karmelo Anthony, what started it? Here come these two big white boys, 6 foot tall, 200 something pounds, football players, bullying the little 5 foot 9, 130 pound new black kid. When it's raining, get out of my seat. You started it. The reaction, you can squabble about whether it was too much, whether it was over the top, but we cannot ignore the nexus of the confrontation.
I gotta tell you, this clip hit me from left field.
Yeah, that's true. That's why you can't compare the Chud the Builder case to Carmelo Anthony. Then also, if I may talk for a second just on fighting words, I want to go back to that point. I'm not going to rewind this video, but daring somebody to hit you is not the same as fighting words. Fighting words is when you are instigating the conflict. I talked about this in my other video about Carmelo Anthony. You don't when you're when you're instigating a fight, there's a difference between instigating a fight and then daring somebody to do something. Okay. And the difference is, it's like if someone's in your face and you're like, I dare you to hit me, they're already in your face. They are already in a combative stance and in a combative way. You can instigate them, meaning like, I dare you to hit me, as in giving them a warning, like this will escalate if you escalate it. Then there's what they're trying to say Carmelo did, which is more along the lines of, this other person's backing away, other person's at a distance, other person's not really in your face, not really doing anything. And you're like, I dare you to hit me. I dare you to hit me. Like, as you're closing space on them and as you're in an aggressive stance, I think you say, as you have your hand on a knife, like something like that is different. Even though you're saying the same thing, it's not the same context, and not the same context, even legally speaking. So also, I just not realized when I hit mute on here, because I don't want you guys to hear me going back and forth behind the scenes here, it does actually mute the audio of the video. So sorry about that. I'm not going to go back. I just let the video play. Again, link is in the description box, but I'll let them cook.
I did not expect this from somebody like Anthony Brian Logan. It seems almost as if he's making the argument that Austin Metcalf started it. Therefore, you could argue Carmelo Anthony was justified in stabbing Austin Metcalf in the heart. It's patently absurd, but I'm seeing so much unbelievable copium. Some other claims being made are that Carmelo Anthony supposedly knew somebody in the tent and therefore he had a right to be there and they had no business asking him to leave. Well, even if that's the case, how does that then justify bloody murder? And to make it now even worse for Carmelo.
Okay, right there. It doesn't, But the fact of the matter is that they say that the egregiousness is Karmelo Anthony being under the tent, aka trespassing. But if he's not trespassing, then that reframes the entire argument from the very beginning, right? Because kicking someone out who shouldn't belong there versus trying to kick someone else or to kick someone out who was invited there, that's two different contexts, right? Like say if you come home and someone's in your house and no one who lives in your house invited them in, that's different than you coming home and someone you don't like is in your house, but your spouse or a friend of a friend invited them in. Like, that's a different context. So trying to skip over that detail is disingenuous. I hate this is what I hate about this case, is that people want to sit here and reframe certain situations as though no one understands how context matters here, right? Like Karmelo being under the tent invited and Karmelo being under the tent not invited, those are two different stances, right? Because if someone from the track team said, "Hey, Karmelo, come underneath our tent," and then he does, versus him just showing up and then everybody else is like, "Hey, who are you?" It's like, I'm Mello, as the popular narrative goes. Though that's two different situations. One, he can be under the tent. The other, yeah, he can argue that he cannot be under the tent, but it can't be both. You can't sit here and say that he's trespassing in one, therefore he needs to go to jail for murder, and then one, he's not trespassing. Okay, well, that doesn't give him the right to murder. It's like, no. You're not starting off from the same point here, right? So this is sort of the issues that I have with a lot of these false narratives, where it's like, oh, it's one way, but then it's a whole totally different way. But either way, he's still guilty. We need to throw him in jail. When really, it would not be that way if this was let's just say, another group of people. But I'll let him continue.
Carmelo's defense. We got this report from the New York Post. Karmelo Anthony asked to leave, quote, 15 times before fatal stabbing. Witness says 15 freaking times. And yet he still refused to leave. You simply cannot defend this. Or the other claim that Austin Metcalf put his hands on him first. Yeah, that's not the way that it works. A simple shove doesn't give you the right to murder somebody in cold blood. You have to actually be facing an imminent threat of severe bodily harm or death. Evidently,
yes, that is true. Here's the problem. No one will admit, or no one will say if that was the case with Karmelo. They just want to sit here and say he stabbed Austin, but it's already come out that Austin did put his hands on Karmelo, but then it's like, oh, that doesn't give you the right to stab. Okay, we need to further examine this, which is the reason why, again, I go back to this surveillance footage. Why are they holding this surveillance footage? You see, I think that they're purposely, pumping this out for racial animosity. I really do, because the surveillance footage is already out there. People are saying that they saw it. People say that, some people say it's blurry, you can't see anything. Some people say that it's crystal clear. It's like in 4K, whatever. I think that they should release the footage. But the fact that we're sitting here making it sound like Austin was not in Karmelo's face when we have witness testimonies going both ways with that, really, I think people are being pretty disingenuous about this, as I've stated before.
That wasn't the case here. Being shoved in the bleachers by another student clearly doesn't rise to that level of perceived danger. But now, of course, the goalposts are moving a little bit.
From what I've been able to read, what I've been able to hear.
Oh, yes, the goalposts are definitely moving. It's just who's moving them.
Here, he was approached by 4 people. Now, the confrontation might have been between him and Austin Metcalf. The physicality may have been one-on-one, but he was approached by 4 people. So when you're approached that way and a fight happens, you're thinking, I'm about to get jumped. I'm in serious danger, okay?
Now we come to this next claim that he was facing imminent threat from 4 individuals who were supposedly about to jump him. Well, you know what? You could possibly argue that, but again, the facts of this case completely invalidate that argument. If Karmelo...
Not really. Earlier in the video, he just said that eyewitness testimony blows his case wide open. Okay, eyewitness testimony is the one who said that 4 people jumped him, or 4 people approached him. Let me be clear on that. So which is it? Did 4 people approach him, or was it one-on-one? Again, that does matter in the legal system. I know people don't want to hear that, but that is the truth. So again, he talks about goalposts moving. Okay, you're moving the goalposts, right? You're moving the goalposts to where Karmelo's guilty in all situation. Like that's not right. I'm sorry. I don't care what you think about a group of people. That's not right.
Anthony was truly fearing for his life in that position. If he was in the position where he was about to have 4 people gang up on him in a vicious, violent group beatdown, why didn't he leave? Why did he stay there, interacting one-on-one with one individual, begging them to hit him, to attack him, while he was...
Okay, right there. It goes back to what I just said. Was he invited in the tent or was he not invited to the tent? If he's not invited to the tent, that is true. Walk away, leave, whatever. If you are invited to the tent, of course you're going to stand your ground because you're there with your friend, right? Or whoever invited you into the tent. This is why context matters. You can't just sit here and blanket statement stuff.
Was premeditating his violent response. Give me a freaking break. And of course, that's where this whole argument fell apart.
He's not premeditating a violent response if he was invited in there by a friend. If he was invited in there by a friend, what would have been the premeditation there? Like, oh, my friend's going to invite me to this tent. I'm just going to stab the next person who walks up to me. That doesn't even make sense.
If he was truly fearing for his life, why did he insist on staying there? And that's really probably the most important detail here. His insistence, his action of refusing to leave basically tells the whole story. It wasn't about self-defense or protecting yourself against an unprovoked, horrific, violent attack. It was about pride. He was being defiant, playing tough guy, and then he escalated the violence to a level that did not meet the moment. Not self-defense. Bloody frickin' murder. Very simply, this is not how self-defense works. The circumstances
again, that isn't how self-defense works, but again, context matters. I know people don't like some of these facts, but it is what it is, right? Like you can't sit here and just say that, oh, it's not this because I don't want it to be. Like that's not how this legal system works.
incredibly important. In order to make a proper claim of self-defense, you cannot engage in fighting words, taunting a physical confrontation saying, hey, punch me in the face, and then planning to respond with a deadly weapon. You also have to figuratively or literally have your back against the wall. You need to have no other choice. You need to prove that you were attempting to de-escalate, to remove yourself from the situation, but you were left with no choice. You were being indiscriminately targeted, met with a heightened level of violence in which you have no other recourse but to defend yourself. That is the exact opposite of what happened here. This kid had every...
Again, are we going to go with eyewitness testimony or are we going to go with what we want to happen, not with what did happen? Because there is testimony and there is argument that the scenario he just outlined for true self-defense is what happened, right? But again, if you want Karmelo to be guilty, then you're just going to move the goalpost again to where Karmelo doesn't have that right to defend himself, and then you're going to go from there. See, that's why I'm covering this, because I want to document all of these situations and narratives. Because, you know, as I've said before, with the can't find certain videos anymore that were on this case just a year ago. You know, this stuff needs to be documented and recorded, right? Not that anybody's going to really change their mind, because we already have multiple documentations of racism in the past, and that's just always ignored and shoved under the swept under the rug, as they say. So, anyway.
Opportunity to leave. He wasn't stuck. He wasn't trapped. He wasn't cornered. He was in a place that he shouldn't have been in. It was their tent. They asked him many times to leave. He was refusing. He was being defiant. It was an issue of pride. And then he premeditated the stabbing of a 17-year-old peer. And by the way, throughout the entire process,
again, the issue of pride. I like what somebody else said. Who gave the Metcalf twins authority to move and remove people? Like, they were not security for the venue. Like, they didn't have the right to tell Karmelo to really, well, I wouldn't say they didn't have the right to tell him to move, but they didn't have the right to put their hands on him, but they did anyway. So again, what are we really talking about here? Are we looking at all the details or just the details that support what we want to believe anyway?
has shown no remorse and no emotion whatsoever. This cold, lifeless, demonic stare that we constantly see. There is no merit to these arguments. Karmelo Anthony, in my view, will be found guilty because he is guilty. And to see people sully themselves in his defense, I can't think of a less deserving individual. People twisting themselves into frickin' pretzels to justify this kid's indefensible actions. It's truly fascinating. Just a total...
Watching someone twist themselves into pretzels to make him guilty is also fascinating. Let's not leave that one on the table.
Lack of moral clarity. There is no defending this kid's actions, period. And in the case of the Anthony Bryan Logan clip, you guys can go watch the video in its entirety. Many people will defend him, claiming that, well, he's just presenting both sides and being neutral. Even a tacit defense of this kid is unacceptable. A total, abject moral failure. There is very little nuance here unless we're presented with bombshell new evidence. But let me tell you very simply, it doesn't exist if it...
Is bombshell new evidence really going to change people's minds? Let's really be honest here with that. If something were to come out and say, okay, Karmelo was innocent, Karmelo did defend himself, are any of these people really going to make a video claiming that they were wrong and saying that they were sorry and blah, blah, blah. No, they're not. They're just going to move on, act like nothing happened. The same that always happens in these situations.
It would have leaked already. We would have seen it. There's a reason they have kept the video evidence sealed, because it probably shows exactly what we expect. The evidence in this case is over.
If it shows exactly what people expect, why would they hide it? Make that make sense. Why would they? If this is usual suspects that's already out there, why would they hide this?
Overwhelming. It is pointing in one direction, and I will not be gaslit to believe anything different. Karmelo Anthony is screwed. This witness testimony is going to put him away, likely for the rest of his life, and the only words that come to mind in response to that are two words: good riddance. And I should probably follow that up with a prayer for Austin Metcalf and his family. May his soul rest in peace, and condolences to the family, especially as they're now going to be forced to go through the entire thing over again. But in the end, hopefully they can heal. Hopefully they, get some sort of closure here. Again, God rest the kid's soul, and hopefully the jury gets it right. Anyways, that's what I got. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
All right, well, that's that. Yeah, I agree. I hope the jury does get it right. But the problem is people want the jury to get it right the way that they want the jury to get it right, not the way that it's probably legally going to be. Yeah, again, I feel like too many people want this kid to be guilty versus is he guilty? Because for every testimony of, a witness said this, it's like, yeah, there's also a witness that says something else, right? It's like, oh, he wasn't supposed to be in the tent, but then he got invited to the tent. Oh, he reached in his bag and it was self-defense. Oh no, he pulled out the knife and he meant to stab Austin Metcalf. It's just like, wait, what? Like, there's just people just all over the place with this. And again, I want the surveillance footage. I keep saying that. I want the surveillance footage. I want the surveillance footage. I want the surveillance footage, because I know it's being held under wraps for a reason, right? And me personally, I don't care what anybody says. I think they're keeping it under wraps because the Metcalf twins, they're not going to be found innocent of any wrongdoing. Like, this isn't just some black kid who showed up and started stabbing up people. Like, that's what they want it to be, and I don't think that it is that. I think that this is probably more along the lines of self-defense, but as some attorneys have already reported on, like, this may be imperfect self-defense. So I think that's really where we're lying here. But because it's so on the line, America is really showing its ass, right? America's showing, the typical thing that happens in these situations. So that's just my own personal opinion. Again, I have no, legal standing or legal accreditations, but I have watched a lot of like Law and Crime and Law and Order stuff, not like the TV show, but like actual court cases. So I understand what certain things mean, despite me not being an attorney or a paralegal or anything else like that. So yeah, that's just my opinion. We're going to leave it there. So I'm going to probably do another video later, going through some comments. Matter of fact, real quick, let's see if we can just go through some comments on here. Oh yeah, it goes over. Where are we at now? 23 minutes. Yeah, we'll take this a couple more minutes. Let's see here. Let's see what the comment section has to say on this. All right. The fact Karmelo Anthony's family cashed on their son murdering someone makes me beyond livid. Yeah, that's not true. Remember, these people are standing up for the murderer. Again, not found guilty. Karmelo came into the tent with willful intent. Yeah, see, like just making up stuff. Like 1,000 people agreed with that in under 24 hours. How many subscribers they have? Oh, 1.7 million. Okay, so the fact they allowed this little monster to graduate high school absolutely infuriates me. As a black man myself, even I'm fatigued. Lock this murderer up. Yeah, the self-haters are always going to come out in full droves. I should probably send him a message. They're not going to let you into the country club, right? The biggest crime was that the judge is letting him out on such a low ball. Yeah, it was $1 million the first time that they let him out. The first time they let him out on bail. That got reduced, by the way. To be like this at 17, just imagine how messed up his family is, even though he comes from a 2-parent home. Matter of fact, someone else did a video on this. The Metcalf twins were actually the ones who came from a broken home and all this, rough history. Karmelo actually came from a 2-parent household and they live in the suburbs. So very, very interesting that we want a usual suspect this. The fact they burned through all the GoFundMe money and needed a public defender is just a chef's kiss. no thought of consequences. I looked into that back, a year ago. The GoFundMe money was not used to purchase a house. I like what someone else said. How do you get GoFundMe money and search for, buy, and close on a house within like a week? Like where is this happening? Like where is this going on? But people just go for it. So he's 100% guilty, hate crime to the extreme, offended by everything, ashamed of nothing, entitled to everything, contributing nothing. Yeah, just more nonsense. Like a thousand likes, 36 replies. Let's just see what the replies are. You also described every single illegal refuge in this world. All right. All these people need Jesus. Yeah, that's true. But I'll let somebody else go down the religious angle. I'm not doing that today. Just another example of TNB. Somebody drop in the comments what that means. I don't know off the top of my head. If he was white, he would have just been in prison for life or 2 years ago. Wait, if he was white, he would have been in prison for life 2 years ago. Again, let's look at the details. I see what you're saying with that, but I don't think that would be the case. Especially with how many people took the defense of the McMichaels during the Ahmaud Arbery case. Like, are you serious? Like, the amount of details that were given that they hunted him down, and people are still like, they were unjustifiably sent to prison, they should appeal immediately. And so like, wow, like they literally got in their car, chased him around the block, chased him down the street, called to somebody else like, hey, he's coming down this way, circle around. But they want to sit here and say like, oh, no, he wasn't followed or hunted down or anything. That's a conspiracy theory. It's like, wow, okay, whatever. Yeah, that's crazy. Let's see what else we got here. Having a knife on him at the school and then provocation, touch me and see what happens, could all be considered willful intent. Not really. Not if you're actually being objective. He went to the other team's tent specifically to start trouble. Yeah, it's like 575 people agree with that. We can even say 576. It's like 575. Take away him liking his own comment, possibly. Let's see what people got to say about that. Or to steal, 54. Yep, trouble, 25 likes. Karmelo wasn't even supposed to be at any school function. He was on suspension. She just made up. That's like, where does that even come from? Where does that even come from? People just making stuff up, making him guilty of crimes that we're not even talking about here. Makes me wonder why he went there in the first place. Again, if he's invited, there you go. Like, that's all you need. If he's not invited, why would he went there in the first place? They said it was raining. Right, we've already said it was raining. He was getting out of the rain. Like we've already established why. There's two reasons why he was there. He was getting out of the rain, or he's getting out of the rain, and he was invited by somebody who he knew at the school. See, people just make up stuff like guilty because you're you, right? One would think staying home would be much more easier than going to school events and can't participate in. Allegedly, he was participating in it, but I don't know. Again, we'll see what happens in the trial. Probably to steal something. Yeah. See, I wish that the trial was public, like Ahmaud Arbery's. I watched like all of the hours of the Ahmaud Arbery trial. That's what I want to go back to. I want the trial back, live trials back. Anyway, so that's the end of that. Like I said, videos in the description box. Yeah, like you said, though, I do hope the jury gets it right. I really want to know the details of this case because I don't believe that I don't believe that the internet's right. I think that the internet is probably 80% wrong, to be honest with you. I think there's some truth out there, but people are just out here mouthing off. Anyway, all right, that's John's opinion. This is my opinion. As you can hear, I'm getting over a little bit of a cold here, but that's it for me.